Some good news to start with. The Linda, my friend, has been of ICU and put into a regular hospital bed last night. So your healing energy is sent directly to her, and not that cautious guy fairy has actually done wonders. So thank you for all that. She's on the mend now, and so you all got good karmic points for that one. Another thing, I was down the beach and a new food truck has shown up, an Australian chap, and it's a very nice food truck. He's taken taken a wooden horse box and converted it into a takeaway thing, a food like cart, and put a kitchen and all that stuff in it, and he's selling Australian like beach food, which I don't like anyway. It's like, everything with fucking pineapple on it. But one of the things he had on the menu was a Beyond Meat burger. And you know how much the Beyond Meat burger cost? €9. This is the regular double cheeseburger he was selling, the fucking Australian style one, which I wouldn't eat anyway. He's a nice fella and everything. Nothing against him. It's just I don't like that kind of food. I don't like that fusion bullshit. Yeah, I like pineapples, but not on everything. But they were $4.50 or a fiver, depending on what you got on them. But the Beyond Meat just a burger, literally just a burger with fried onions in a bun. Of course, a brioche bun, that you wrap, and €9. So I just was talking, very like a nice Australian fella, and he was saying that I said, no, that's the first time in Ireland I've seen Beyond Meat being advertised anywhere. And he goes, yeah. He was telling me that he makes nothing on the Beyond Meat burger. This is the hipsters have to have it, the woke crowd have to have it, and they can afford it because they all work in IT and things like that. But he says he sells them for 9, but he says when he adds up what it costs for him to buy this Beyond Meat stuff, and he says it works out that he makes about €1 each on each burger. So the profit, he's making really no profit on the burgers, and which just goes to show you the Beyond Meat thing. It's just another big money making scam. That's all it is. They pretend like the companies that make this stuff, they pretend that they care about like the environment and animals and stuff, but it's a big scam for them. €9 for a burger. Unbelievable. You remember like that? Who was the name of that piece of shit? Wimpy. Remember that Popeye cartoon? I will gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. What the fucking Beyond? I will gladly pay you in 2045 for a Beyond Meat hamburger today. They're so expensive. But that's what that reminds me. Wimpy, yeah, he was a fucking horrible person. He always looking at a scrounger. But so yeah, that was like the first time I've seen Beyond Meat, and which still sounds like a fucking porn mag or something to me. Beyond Meat in on sale in Ireland, rip off. Uh, we've had some good something I forgot to mention yesterday. There's been a lot of good news this week. During the week, Ronan news. During the week, the Irish soccer team, it turned out that basically none of them had needlecraft. And the manager, Stephen Kenny, said that if I was to tell you how many players have gotten it, he said it wouldn't even be in the mid 5 figures, which means that probably almost none of the players on the Irish national team of a squad of 30 have got needlecraft. And so what happened was the Irish mainstream media decided to make an issue out of it, and they picked on one particular player, a young lad called Callum Robinson. And Callum Robinson came out forward and said, very politely and very adult, they actually had, like Irish and British footballers tend to be complete morons. But this lad was quite articulate in the way he handled himself very well. He said, I prefer to manage my own healthcare you know, thing, life, and he already had the ping pong twice, so he said, "I'm pretty sure I'm okay. I have the antibodies and the immune anyway to a natural immunity to it." And he says, "I'm young and fit and healthy." He's a professional soccer player playing in the English Premier League, which is like the top league in the world, and so his chance of getting the ping pong or anything of being killed by the ping pong is almost nothing. So it's not going to happen. So he just said, "I prefer to manage my own health." So the Irish media were literally, particularly in the national television station here, were actively goading the manager, Stephen Kenny, the coach, to pick players, that to drop players from the team who were not needle crafted. This is what they were up to. It was really fucking insidious, and that's why at the first at first the Irish mainstream media and RT got into their heads that one or two players had not been needle crafted, and so they literally wanted the coach to pick the team selection based on which players were needle crafted and which players were not. And then that's why he mentioned there wasn't even probably 5 players on the team who had been needle crafted, just to shut them up. He'd literally have to drop the whole squad, the whole at least to be 5 players left. And what wouldn't be there'd be 5 players he could pick from, rather than the regular 30 or so. And so fair play. I love Stephen Kenny. He used to be a manager of Bohemians, and he was a brilliant manager at Dundalk. And now he's managing the Irish national team, and he's changing. He's building a new kind of soccer culture in Ireland that's badly needed in the wake of the Jack Charlton years. He's bringing it back to what it was when I was a little kid, before Jack Charlton came. Jack Charlton gave Ireland tremendous success, but he was also very lucky in that he had fantastic players at that time. Ireland doesn't have that fantastic level of player anymore, but Stephen Kenny's rebuilding Irish soccer to how it used to be from the days of, like, I don't know, when we used to produce, when this island used to produce players like Liam Brady and George Best and John Giles, and players who could play the Frank Stapleton, and players who could play the ball down on the ground. And the Irish game was traditionally, I mean, I know, even though, what you call it, George Best played for Northern Ireland, it was still that style of football. He was still Irish. It was keep the ball down on the ground, move at high speed, and play everything out of the midfield forward. And Charlton came in and completely made a situation where we had that long ball thing, which was horrible to watch, as successful as it was, and you got the other team to defend in their half. So the whole thing, it put them under constant pressure, and it was not pleasant to watch, even though it was very successful. But like Kenny, Stephen Kenny, the way he stood up for the players, I thought was brilliant. It was great to see an Irish manager, coach, do that. And so it was like he was basically saying, "Fuck you" to the media. You're not going to pick my team. And Shay Givens, famous Irish goalkeeper, now retired, came out and said, told the media to go fuck themselves as well. That the players can choose their own. It's none of their business how the players manage to, if they're needle crafted or not. It's not the Irish media's business to run a witch hunt against players. Young lad Callum Robinson, they picked on. They single a player out that deliberately embarrass him. And the beautiful thing was that Ireland won 3-0 away from home, and Callum Robinson scored 2 of the goals. So it was the ultimate fuck you to the Irish mainstream media, and particularly the national TV station and radio station RTE, who were really, they were going at it big time, like you would not believe. They were like, basically, they were this close to saying that the Irish national team should be dropped from representing this country because they don't have enough in fucking big pharma injections inside themselves. It was sickening beyond word. And the biggest culprit of them all was this piece of shit called Joe Duffy. Joe Duffy is an institution in Irish broadcasting in the same way a mental hospital is an institution. That's the way I best describe him. And his show Liveline goes out every day of the week. I don't listen to it except when I'm working with someone and they have it on. But it has not changed its format in God knows 20 odd years. Basically, it's a safety valve for the nation. So people call up with real problems, and you can see how insidious it is. He's a big time one for diffusing public anger. He comes from Crumlin, which is a working class neighbourhood of Dublin, South County Dublin, South Dublin inner city, and he tries to make out he's like, like he's a working class dub, but he went to Trinity, and at a time when working class people were found it difficult to get into Trinity, and he's on 500,000 a year for doing like a few hours work a week, but he sits there diffusing public anger and protecting politicians. And he was really fucking lacing into it, I believe, this week against the Irish soccer team over the needlecraft and the pure propaganda bullshit. Now, his show Liveline is basically people call in. Sometimes they're genuine horror stories. Like, you'll have women, you see, here's how the insidiousness works, right? Like, a woman might call in and say, and on line two we have Bridget from County Cork. She lives in Baltimore in County Cork, and she's dying of ovarian cancer because the cervical smear that she got was wrong because the government made him fucked up. How are you doing, Bridget? Oh, Joe, I've got 6 months to live because of government incompetence, and who's going to take care of my kids when I die? Oh, jeez. Oh, Bridget, that's very sad. But do you not think, Bridget, like that? The healthcare service is under a lot of pressure. Oh, I know it's under a lot of pressure, Joe, but I'm dying of cancer because they got my pap smears mixed up. Oh well, that's terrible. And now we're going to line four. This is Barry. This is Barry in Dundalk, and Barry, I believe you want the government to pay for your Christmas lights. Oh Jesus, Dad, no, I want to get the people for lights. I put a Christmas tree in the garden, and I want them to pay for the lights. But you not think, Barry, that you should pay for the lights yourself. And you see how it works. A woman comes up first with a real. This is insidious. This is the RTA are so insidious. They would actually. Edward Bernays, if he was alive today, would be taking lessons from them. But you have a woman calling in, say from and this is an imaginary woman now, calling in from. But these are the kind of things that happen from Cork, who's like dying of ovarian cancer because of pap smear mix up at the health service, and then they immediately jump to this guy in Dundalk who wants the government to pay his electricity bills for his Christmas tree lights because he put a Christmas tree in the front yard and thinks it's a public service. And what happens is they make people think that both are equally the same. Oh, and also the revulsion that you feel at the woman having ovarian cancer is then tapered off by this nonsensical arsehole that comes on afterwards. There was actually a TV show in England that did the same back in the 70s called That's Life with Esther Ranson. I don't know if people are older, they'll remember this. They're like my age and stuff, and they remember a show called That's Life on the BBC, and they used to have some horrific stories, and then they would trivialise it with a song and dance number about something like parking spaces in Milton Keynes that are painted the wrong colour or something like that. Insidious stuff, but this still goes on in Ireland in a big way with this Joe Duffy show. And this Joe Duffy show is unfucking believable. It's the same format for years. And it's always like he encourages whingers and arseholes to call in. So people that have genuine horror stories are kind of lost in the miasma of like stupidity. It's deliberately done on purpose. You can definitely tell. In fact, the very first Anto and Deco sketch I ever did is on the Thomas Sheridan channel from about 12 years ago. And it's Deco calling up the Art Bell show after seeing a UFO, but he thinks he's calling Joe Duffy, and he's going, "Oh Jesus, Joe!" And that's if Joe Duffy did produce something, it gave me the idea for Anto and Deco. Although back then Deco was less of a voice of reason than he is now. He was more like Anto, but he's matured. Deco has matured since then. But that's what that show was like. It's awful. It's awful, and they stoke up all kinds of shit, and they were definitely trying to get the Irish soccer team to make the manager, the coach Stephen Kenny, to make selections based on which players are needlecrafted or not. That's how insidious it was, and this is the angle they were playing, and the show is so obnoxious. I mean, I know you can listen to Irish radio all over the world, but sometimes if you ever get a chance and you're doing nothing, listen to Irish RT radio. I think it's Radio 2. I'm not sure. I haven't listened in years. Look for Liveline. It's on during the week, and it'd be things like And on line one now we have Sinead from Carrick and Shannon, and Sinead, I believe you're a bit of a bigot. And she goes, "Oh no, Joe, I'm not a bigot. I'm not a bigot. Something happened." Well, do you want to tell us about what happened, Sinead? Well, me and my two friends, we were going down by the river for a picnic. My friend Orla and my friend Aoife and myself, we were going down to the pit for a picnic on our lunch break. And when we got down there, there was two demons, one called Azathoth and the other one called Baphomet, and they were both down by the river, and they were not behaving well. And myself and Aoife and Orla were respectable ladies from Carrick on Shannon. We're just respectable Irish ladies from a small country town, and we're not used to these demons coming into the community and causing this mayhem. And we just wanted a nice afternoon in the park, having sandwiches and a cup of tea. And these demons were just causing all kinds of problems. They were doing things like shouting and behaving themselves very, very inappropriately in the park. But Sinead, do you not think that's more of a case of you judging them for being different than 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 anything else? Demons are entitled to their lives too. I know, Joe. I'm not a demonist. I'm not anti-demon. Are you sure about that now, Sinead? Because you're sounding a bit like that. Well, let me tell you, Joe. What happened then was, uh, this other demon came along, a fella called Pyman, and he was carrying two bags of cans of lager, Dutch Gold, and then they started drinking and throwing stuff at each other, and one of them exposed himself to it, and it was to take a pee in the river, and he was peeing on swans, and it just was a terrible thing for the children in the park to see beside the river. And now Sinead, it's not that simple. You don't know what these demons have been through before they got to Ireland. You should like but the town is in ruins because of these demons, Joe. Now it's not that bad, Sinead. Come on. Do you remember? Anybody remember now when there used to be a demon that used to work in the little kiosk at the top of O'Connell Street, uh, serving chocolate donuts? Do you remember that? Do you remember that was gas, wasn't it? Do you remember what was the name of the demon? I don't remember what the demon's name was. Azathoth or something like that. And the demon he used to make these lovely chocolate donuts, and the demon used to get the donuts, and he would dip the chocolate in the donut in the chocolate. And it was a little kiosk where the Forties Cafe used to be at the top of O'Connell Street. Do you remember that? Remember that, Sinead? Ah, no, I don't remember that, Joe. Excuse me, but I'm currently being raped by a demon. Well, it was great. It was great, Sinead. Now you have to remember, it was a different time, but it was like we were happier with less. So this demon used to sell the chocolate donuts. Funny thing, chocolate donuts, aren't they? It's like, is it a donut or is it a bar of chocolate? And you open it up and you look inside and it's a donut, but it's covered with, you know what I mean, Sinead? It's covered with chocolate. So is it a chocolate or is it a donut? You don't. Oh, Joe, the demon just stuck an electric fucking wire up my arsehole and is killing me. And he goes, well, that's Sinead. Come on, you're being exaggerated now. You're just being racist against demons. Oh, I'm not, Joe. Look, just fucking killed Orla. No, you're being hysterical. Now, do you remember that? What I was saying about that demon that was that sold chocolate donuts out of the kiosk at the top of O'Connell Street. Do you remember that? Oh, they were great days. Where the 40 Cafe was, and there was the Hamilton Long next door. Used to sell telescopes. You sell telescopes. Remember that? And you could buy a telescope. You could buy a 6-inch refractor telescope from Hamilton Long. No, 6-inch reflector telescope. Go look at the stars. You could do that from Hamilton Long, and then you could go next door, and you could buy a chocolate donut from a demon called Azathoth. And nobody complained then, Sinead. It's only when there's more than one demon comes into the country that you complain, Sinead. Are you there, Sinead? Sinead's gone. Sinead is gone now. But yeah, that's right. The top of O'Connell Street, the kiosk where the Forties Cafe used to be, you could buy chocolate donuts from a demon named Azathoth. And Next door, you could buy telescopes from Hamilton Long, and you could learn all about the stars and have a lovely chocolate donut. And then you could go across the road to Eason's, and you could buy a photography magazine, because they didn't sell porno mags, and it would be called like it'd be called something like Today's Photography, and it had pictures of a nudie woman on the cover, and you could wank off to that if you couldn't get your hands on Hustler or Penthouse. But yeah, okay, we'll be back tomorrow with Live Line, and I'm Joe Duffy, and I'm off to buy another Rolls Royce.